the big story while the NBA was trying to figure out how much longer it wanted to take in between games before it tipped off Game 3 was the LIV and PGA Union. The LIV Tour and the PGA Tour are now one. And there was a lot of people who we had not heard from, a lot of people who hadn't spoken out yet. We had heard rumblings about a players' meeting on the PGA Tour in which they laid into Jay Monahan, the PGA Tour commissioner. And you heard it from some of the LIV golfers who were on social media taking some victory laps and kind of letting everybody know we were right the entire time and you were wrong, and et cetera, et cetera. And Jay Monahan talked about him being a hypocrite. Like, we broke it all down. A deep dive yesterday on PGA and LIV and their relationship. And then Rory McIlroy decided to step right up. And he decided to talk about his involvement. There was a report out there, some rumblings that the LIV Tour at one point maybe offered Rory McIlroy $500 million to join the tour. There were some rumblings that Tiger Woods was offered like $800 million to join the tour, but they showed support. They showed loyalty for the PGA Tour, only to find out we're all shopping in the same store together now. And so here was Rory McIlroy yesterday talking about the situation.
I know you and many other golfers were offered substantial amounts of money to join LIV.
I was never offered any money.
My apologies. Should the golfers who maybe stayed loyal and turned down LIV, should they be made whole financially?
I mean, the simple answer is yes. The complex answer is, how does that happen? Mm-hmm. Right? And that's all gray area and up in the air at the minute. But yeah, there's, it's hard for me to not sit up here and feel somewhat like a sacrificial lamb and, feeling like I've put myself out there and this is what happens. Again, removing myself from the situation, I see how this is better for the game of golf. There's no denying that. But for me as an individual, there's just going to have to be conversations that are had.
I'm just trying to get this straight.
You ain't getting that money back, player. You should have took the ridicule. You should have took the road less traveled. You should have took a chance and believed in yourself. You was watching them cats on that private jet. You was getting jealous. Yeah, you were a sacrificial lamb, my guy. You know why? 'Cause you didn't take the money.
My favorite part about all this.
We should be made whole.
Right.
No, you shouldn't.
My favorite part about all this is he was very quick to point out, I was never offered any money.
Yeah,
and then when it came to the end of the quote, it was like, yeah, I think we should be compensated for something. It's like, okay, so you taking the stance that you took, was it for moral purposes? Was it because you were outraged by the quote-unquote blood money that was part of the LIV Tour? Or were you just assuming that you were in the right lane, they were all in the wrong one, and you guys were never going to merge into traffic together, and now you look like an a-hole, and you don't have any of the money that those guys made on top of all that? That's what it feels like to me. That's why he's bitter.
It just sounds a little disingenuous, like to say, yes, if you were offered money, you should be made whole after something like this. Like,
right.
No. That's like the scenario you were giving out about Tiger Woods. Like, if I get this deal done here, but it happens after, like, if my deal happened after, I don't owe you anything. But if it happened during, then I owe you. The bottom line is that you didn't make a move. You made a decision. The PGA Tour didn't keep y'all from making that decision. They might have told y'all advised you what not to do and what to do. Or you might have had a whole lot of people sitting there telling you this is career suicide, and all those guys like Brooks Koepka and all of them who are taking the money, this is career suicide for them. You chose to play it safe. Ain't no PGA need to make you whole. That's less money. That's less money that whoever that public fund is and that from the Saudis that's funding this. That's less money they had to pay to get to where it is that they wanted. And which, by the way, it made me start thinking, what if this public fund wanted to do this with, say, pro football?
Yeah.
What's to say that now this hasn't set a new precedence for how to infiltrate American sports,
Yeah.
American athletics.
Yeah, I brought it up yesterday. WWE's been going over there for a few years now. They got a lot of the heat that a lot of the live golfers got, and they keep going over. And in fact, they're going over more now because of how much money's brought in. Like, if you're willing to take the backlash initially, the amount of revenue and the amount of cash that they're willing to offer in situations like this, I mean, that, like, this type of money, like the NFL is rich and flush with cash. They're not this flush with cash. Like the Saudis, like, that's a level of income and a level of money that even Jay Monahan's like, look, yes, I'm a hypocrite, but damn, that's a lot of cash. Like this, I was thinking about that as well too. I wonder, could this potentially be a threat to, some other establishments as far as leagues go when it comes to, football or basketball or whatever, if this could be the start of what else could happen here. I do wonder.
Well, I think that's a very interesting proposition. I would be curious to hear what Q would have to say on this because, he always brings the numbers and the evidence and he breaks out his copious notes of all things like this. But I would wonder what would be like, think about it. You're talking about a public fund in a place where that money is the longest money I've heard of outside of a few situations in Africa, but I've heard that money is super, super, super long. Like guaranteed contracts, why not guaranteed contracts? Oh, Deshaun Watson, you guys, I can bring over the Trevor Lawrence's, the Justin Herberts, the Tyreek Hills. I can get, Aaron Rodgers. What?
Yeah.
I can bring these players over. All I have to do is give them guaranteed contracts. Look at the money that they're generating in the NFL. Let's infiltrate them. Let's start our own league. Let's start giving the best players that they have, like a guaranteed amount on their contracts, and let's start football teams. We can plug in the rest of these guys. There's enough football players running around where you can plug in the rest of these guys. These are going to be the ones that are selling tickets and making this thing go. Like, let's do it. Who's to say that isn't what could happen next?
Yeah, and just the whole Rory McIlroy and his just crying about, I was never offered anything, and it's blood money, and it's disgraceful what they've done. But, I mean, since we're here, I'll take some of it as a make good. I'll take some of your money as a make good. Okay, so it's blood money then, but now it's make good money. Okay, I want to make sure that we've got this clear. The whole thing's hilarious, man, just to see how many of these guys are so bitter and just still are holding on to that. Well, it need to make it right for us. It's like, you ever had like a piece of hair, you find a piece of hair in your food at a restaurant? You ever had that happen? Or like a fingernail
something in your drink. I've seen particles in my drink.
Oh,
That's really that's a real big turn off.
It's like, if I saw something in my food, the last thing I want is the same meal that I just ordered that had like a piece of hair or a fingernail in my food. It's like when they come back to the table and say, we'll remake it for you. Yeah, I don't want you to remake it. Like, I don't want to get that. I'll get something else.
Because they ain't remaking it. They just pulled that nail out and let it sit under the heater for a minute and then put it back out there.
It's
like run it back out.
It's like Rory McIlroy saying, no, take this food back. But they bring out the exact same one and he says, okay, I guess now I'll take it. All right, now I'll take it. As long as part of it's comped, I guess now I'll take it. Just the whole thing is comedy.
It's just you played it safe. You played it safe when others didn't, and no, you shouldn't be compensated for playing it safe. You shouldn't. Bottom line is you shouldn't. And it's so crazy because now you expose yourself for being a hypocrite.
Yep. Totally agree.
Just by sitting there saying that, like, okay, so it wasn't really about being true Americans and patriotism and all these things. It was about like you trying to preserve yourself, self-preservation. And on the other side of this, when this crumbles in people's faces, the LIV Tour that is, then we're the ones that look like good patriots. We did it the right way. We're the good soldiers. Yeah, well, what happens when the team you're a part of, the soldier team, the soldier group you're a part of, sells out to the enemy? Like you thought you won the war, but you had only won a battle. The war was still being waged, and clearly whoever chose LIV and took those big-ass bags of money, they won the war in the end. And they're probably going to be taken care of, and they're probably going to be reverenced by the people that did the deals with them early on, because you don't get this deal done unless the golfers that joined not only joined but played well in the PGA.
And I would love to know how many of the golfers that joined the LIV Tour, I would love to know how many of them joined just for the money, or how many of them joined, yes, because of the money, but also because, hey, dude, we're going to end up in the same spot anyways. So why not take the money? Like, yeah, we got to wear it for a couple of years, but eventually we're all going to be in the same spot. And the PGA Tour, with all its flaws, can't just continue to say no to this type of cash, knowing what it could do to the entire sport and everybody involved in it. I wonder how many of them said, this is our opportunity to make, on top of what we're going to make when we finally join forces together, this is what our opportunity to make an extra $100 million. Knowing what was down the road, because I get the feeling guys like Phil Mickelson, Greg Norman has been all about this for years now. You mentioned Donald Trump, who predicted this, what was it, a couple of years ago or last year?
Like
saying,
last year he predicted
like,
the merger.
Take the money, it's going to happen eventually. I wonder how many people also had the same thought, and that's part of the reason why they did this, because they said, we'll take the blowback for 2 years, but that $100 million you can't get back. And the way we go with the LIV and PGA relationship that moves forward, it's pretty funny to watch.